My name is Brandon, and over the past year, the Delight Cafe team and I have traveled across the U.S. researching this rapidly growing industry of CBD products. What we have found throughout the industry were products that were inconsistent in dosage and used ingredients that weren't even lab tested. Products with chalky textures, bitter aftertaste, and worst of all, confusion among the CBD consumers. That's why we created Delight Cafe. A 15 milligram, lab-tested, all-natural, water-soluble hemp CBD powder pack. It's odorless, colorless, and tasteless. Add it to your favorite drink of choice, wherever, whenever, on the go. Quickly find your calm, your balance, and your delight when you need it most.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brandon Croucher, CEO of Delight Cafe. You just saw my handsome face there. Yeah, I'm adorable at times. I try. But the thing is, we have a really special guest today. I'm honored to be able to interview this man because he has a great personality. I've watched a couple of his videos. I've been stalking his website for about 2 days now to make sure I got ready for this. His name is Kevin Burk, and he is the headmaster of the Real Astrology Academy. So this is where he provides astrology information, education, and training to astrologers and astrology students around the world. He has been counseling as an astrologer since 1998, teaching astrology since 2000. So he had 2 years in there to figure out to get his stuff together and all that. And is the author of 12 books and counting now, including 2 textbooks on how to interpret the natal chart and a series of books on understanding and improving human relationships. You can't tell me that doesn't sound like something interesting, someone that we want to talk to, and make sure that you're able to get your best out of yourself. He fits our mold perfectly here at Delight Cafe. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in the one, the only, the guy who's going to give us winning lottery numbers, Mr. Kevin Burk. And I'm going to give you the big screen because I don't need to be the adorable one. So, Kevin, thank you for being with us today. First things first, winning lottery numbers were...
Well, I can tell you numbers that at some point will win the lottery. I just can't tell you when they're going to win the lottery or which lottery. But if you like them, I'm happy to give them to you.
Do you get asked that a lot? I know that's a fun question I told you before the show, and I got to make you laugh. But truth be told, do people actually think you're going to do that? Like, provide them with this type of stuff?
Fortunately, no.
I was so happy I had that question aligned. I'm like, yeah! So
I can honestly say I have never actually been asked that. So
I'm a first.
You're a first. Congratulations.
Thank you. I try my best. So I want to ask a real question. Before you got into all of this and got into astrology and all of that, were you the kid that was lying in the middle of the street looking at the stars? Or are you, like, how did you become about and how did you get into being into astrology?
I always had a general interest in it. I mean, most people do. I probably bought one of those sun sign astrology books at some point. And it was vaguely interested in that kind of stuff. And honestly, the way that I actually got started, this was 1992, and I got rear-ended on I-5, heading down south in San Diego. And with the settlement, I bought a new computer, and then there was a couple $100 left over from that. And that was found money that had to be spent on something fun because, I can't go to like rent or something like that.
Absolutely.
And so I bought this astrology software that I'd seen advertised for years in the back of like Macworld magazine. And I thought this would be really cool. I've got a design background. I can print these reports on like a parchment paper. That's where my parchment brand came from. My website's got the parchment because that's how this started. And I used kind of a calligraphy font and made these really cool looking astrology reports that I started a business selling, not understanding a word of it.
Yeah. Okay.
But then I started to try to learn on my own and bought a couple of books, and that didn't work. And then I actually found a teacher in San Diego in 1995 and started taking formal astrology classes and went through a certification program with a national organization because my teacher was training to prepare to take those exams. And that's just how it started. It sort of, my path kind of unfolded. I met the right people. I got some support and kind of learning how to do some counseling and how I wanted to approach this from a counseling perspective. And it just all kind of unfolded from that. But it really started with me thinking that, I could do a cool little business, running these computer astrology reports and making them look nice and custom on parchment paper.
I think that's great, though. Now, with that, you created this business because that was back in, what would you say, 94?
I started the business, I probably 92, 93. I started running the chart, doing just the chart report business. And I started studying astrology and actually learning it in a really proper way in 1995. And then I've been counseling since 1998.
So I have your video all set up. I'm going to bring it into the screen really quick. And you have this thing called the human game.
Yes.
Achieve your goals, explore your potential, experience happiness. I think that's something that everybody's trying to get to. But my question, let's see what's in here. I hope so too. I want to hit play and we're going to let this take over for a second. Okay. It's about a 4 or 5 minute video.
My name is Kevin B. Burk, and I'm the headmaster of the Real Astrology Academy.
Can you hear you?
I've been teaching astrology and working with astrology clients around the world for more than 20 years, and I've written more than a dozen books on astrology and personal development. In all of that time, I've been searching for a way to make astrology truly practical. Instead of describing your personality and telling you what you should be doing with your life, I wanted you to be able to use astrology to improve your life. I wanted astrology to be able to help you to pursue your goals and to give you strategies to overcome obstacles and stay motivated. And now it can. I'm excited to introduce you to the human game. The human game is a coaching model that works with your unique birth chart to help you to achieve your goals, explore your potential, and experience happiness.
I need
Traditional
all of
coaching
those.
Models view each goal as a mountain. You define the goal, set clear targets, create a strategy, anticipate obstacles and challenges, and identify specific tasks you need to complete. If you follow the strategy plan and complete the tasks, you'll reach the top of the mountain and achieve your goal. But goals aren't mountains. Goals are icebergs.
What?
The external goal is just the visible part of the iceberg. The real obstacles keeping you from success are hidden beneath the surface. The human game makes it possible to see the entire iceberg and consider both the external goal and the hidden internal goals that support it.
Interesting.
Both the human game and traditional coaching start by identifying a goal and making it SMART: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. Choosing a SMART goal and identifying the tasks you need to perform to reach that goal is easy. The hard part is actually doing what you know you need to do to reach the goal. Now, traditional coaching models view this as a motivation problem, and they employ different tools to push you to overcome your resistance, hold you accountable, and ultimately take action to pursue your goal. In the human game model, this problem has nothing to do with motivation. If you've set an attainable goal and you believe that achieving that goal will make you happy, that's all the motivation you'll ever need. If you're not taking action and moving towards that goal, it's not because you lack motivation. It's because you lack fuel.
Ooh.
Every action you take consumes fuel, but some actions also create fuel. Your birth chart tells you how you can generate fuel so you'll have the energy and enthusiasm to pursue your goal. Once you start to work towards a goal, your next challenge is to stay connected to that goal until you achieve it. To stay connected to a goal, you need to pursue meaningful tasks. Meaningful tasks are tasks you believe directly contribute to the goal, are measurable, and give you a feeling of accomplishment when you complete them. The problem is that when you only consider the external goal, there's a limit to how much time you can spend each day on meaningful tasks. You have all of this energy and enthusiasm for the goal, but no place to channel it. This is one of the main reasons people get frustrated and abandon their goals. But when you work with a human game model, you can turn almost anything you do during the day into a meaningful task that supports your goal. You stay connected to your goal and feel like you're making progress towards it because you track both external and internal accomplishments.
How does it feel to watch yourself?
At this point, you're probably wondering how these
I'm kind of
strategies can
amazed
help
how I'm
you
doing the
to
badly
achieve your
dubbed
life
Japanese film thing.
goals. The best way to find out is to schedule a human game coaching session. The coaching session begins by identifying
live,
a specific
by the way.
goal you'd like to achieve.
I'm
Then
having
explore why the goal matters.
So, all right, before I'm going to come back to this in a second. I do have a question, and this one's going to drive me nuts because I didn't write this down.
Okay.
Because this only happens in my universe, and I thank you for doing this. Have you been able to get a new shirt since then because you're wearing the same one?
This is not the same shirt.
Oh, come on!
No,
I don't.
This is a knit. This is a knit shirt.
Oh,
that's a dress shirt. But but the maroon, this color is part of my branding. I have a background in marketing. The red shirt for the videos, or the maroon shirt, the parchment background, the swirly thing in the background has been videos since 2012, various things of that. It's just, it's a consistent branding thing.
I appreciate that because I was like, this is going to be fun because I'm watching him and I'm noticing the color. So personally, well done.
Thank you.
You never know what I'm going to wear. There might be a day I show up naked one day. Everybody's kind of waiting for that. I think that's why I'm doing 500 push-ups this week. So you jumped into a few things I'd like to actually touch, and I have the video paused in the background so that way we can go back into it. But goals are like an iceberg, not a mountain. Can you elaborate on that as your way of teaching people?
This is one of the ways. So I've been, the goal setting is one way in to this. People have explored goals. When I realized, I can take this and get people to sort of experience this by taking something that they're familiar with, life coaching goals kind of things, and saying, what's the issue with that? And nothing is ever about what it's about. I mean, we think, it's about happiness.
Right.
I mean, bottom line, what you care about, what everybody cares about is happiness. And the only reason we ever do anything, the only reason we set a goal, the only reason you want anything, the only reason you did 500 push-ups is because you think when you achieve that goal, then you'll be happy.
I think I'll be jacked.
Well, but when you're jacked, then you'll be happy.
I'm still bald.
Okay, but...
I'm just kidding. No matter what you said, I had a rebuttal. So. But I get your point. Yeah.
At some point... something, would you think, okay, well, not being bald would make you happy. There's always something that we think when we get that, then we'll be happy.
Correct.
And I can share with you the secret of happiness.
So I want that because I'm asking so we didn't talk about this, and this is totally off the cuff, so I hope you're ready for this, Kevin. I know you asked for my prenatal chart. I was born April 25th, 1983. I even gave you the hospital I was born in because I wanted to make sure I aligned it for you. But I have what's been called a mental illness. I have bipolar 2 disorder.
Okay. And
so that happiness sometimes is... I see the word Browns. I know not to look, Brian. I saw it, but I literally am. My whole company is designed about finding your inner happiness because I don't have the answers, but I always am looking for them and am willing to ask questions. So, Kevin, with you having my prenatal chart and knowing who I am a little bit, what is happiness? How do I reach my goals? How do I get my team to reach their goals without threatening to fire them?
Okay, so that's a lot.
I'm sorry. All right, let's start from the beginning.
How long do we have here? So a couple of things. First of all, you already sort of spoiler alert, you already sort of hit on the secret of happiness, which is that it lives inside you.
Son of a bitch, I'm so good. I didn't even mean to do that. I was just saying that's what my focus
is. But this is the thing. This is the most important thing. And we'll get your birth chart is going to be something we're going to look at in a very, very specific context.
Okay.
Because it's not the birth chart is a map. We're going to take one tiny little part of it. We're going to look at something you care about. We're going to connect it to your chart. We're going to look at what you need for fuel. We're going to look at your specific strategy to illustrate how the human game works. But this is a practical this is an application of astrology that nobody has ever experienced, because it's not about describing your personality. That's what most astrology is about. It's a model of personality typing.
Yeah.
And it's not, I mean, it's fine. But, basically you're sitting down with an astrologer for an hour or so and they're telling you how pretty you are. And that's a lovely way to pass the time. But what do you do with that?
Right.
That was never practical. And it was a long and lengthy process for me to realize, now I understand why I'm so frustrated by everything that I've approached with astrology. Now I understand that unconsciously I've always thought astrology was this model of personality typing, but until I could define it and go, that's what it is, this is not what I'm interested in doing. And these limitations have nothing to do with astrology. They're limitations of personality typing.
Okay.
It's a useful tool, but therapists don't use personality tests like the Myers-Briggs. They don't use personality typing because that never describes an individual. Because and I realized that's not what I was interested in doing. I wanted to make astrology has been promising things to me for more than 20 years, and I've had this sort of vendetta to get it to deliver, and it never has until now. Because I've come close, but it's always been well, that seems like it's going to be practical, and then no. And a lot of that was because I was still thinking that somehow this is going to describe everything about my personality.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, even if it could, that doesn't help me to live my life any better. That tells me more about me, which is nice. I mean, I love talking about me. I love other people talking about me, but I can't do anything with that.
Yeah.
And when I came up with this human game model, this was basically the external way in of how can I take people by the hand and have them actually experience something that is genuinely going to make them happy. And what this does, because here's the challenge, and I call this, I'm going to explain in a minute why I'm sort of calling this the ruby slippers paradox. The truth is that happiness lives inside you.
Yeah.
But your reality is, no, it's out there. It's obviously, I can give you a list of 30 things that if I had them in my life right now, I promise you, I think I would be really, really happy. And so we are programmed to think that happiness is in the outside world. And even if you can accept intellectually, provisionally, this idea, sure, happiness lives inside me. How do you get to it? How do you connect it? There's not really a clear path for most people to do that.
Right.
And that's what the human game can do, is it can build a bridge. It can give you experiences and make these connections to connect an inner experience of happiness with your external story. But we have to sort of distract your conscious mind. So why I call this the ruby slippers problem. The movie of The Wizard of Oz has a wonderful story, has some really wonderful lessons in it. But at the end of the movie, after Dorothy has gone on that whole extensive journey and she keeps on trying to get home because she thinks home is going to make her happy, and the last balloon leaves, then Glinda swans in her bubble and goes, "Ooh, but you had the power to go home all along. All you had to do was click your heels." If I was in that position, that situation would have escalated quickly. Well, I mean, it's like, okay,
I'm quiet.
Get back in your bubble, lady. You are telling me I just walked 50 miles on brick in sequin heels, and all I had to do was click them to get home?
Right. On top of that, I had to deal with all those obstacles. I had the opiate fields. I could be addicted to this now. What do I tell my aunt when I get home?
Exactly.
Like,
exactly. And so that's my immediate reaction to that. But Glinda does sort of make the point that you wouldn't have believed that at the beginning, even though you always had the power. You couldn't have used it. You wouldn't have believed it. It wasn't something you could have done until now. So this is kind of how I'm contextualizing the human game with my clients on this.
Yeah.
Is I'm saying, okay, I'm giving you the ruby slippers. I'm giving you the instruction manual. In this process, in this session, I'm going to be giving you the tools, and you are going to have actual experiences telling little stories about your life, connecting them to this, where you are actually feeling happy, which is the only thing you really care about.
Right.
And so that is the answer right there. And you are going to go, wow, that's great. Which way's the yellow brick road? Because your conscious mind cannot accept that yet. So everybody has to walk the yellow brick road for a while. Why? And this is why we focus on the top part of the iceberg. We focus on what you think you want to be happy.
Right. We
get very clear about that. I give you about, we look at that, we question that, because that's sometimes its own little process, making sure you really do care about what you think you care about.
Right.
And then we say, great, now I'm going to give you these tools. You're going to play the human game with this. And this is how you're going to do these other things that are totally unrelated, but I'm going to show you how they're going to sort of, in this story we're going to tell, support you towards reaching that goal. So your conscious mind, I call it, bananas for the monkey mind. Your conscious mind thinks you are working towards where you think happiness is. But in the meantime, as you use these ridiculously simple tools, you are having, in that moment, experiences of actual happiness. You are telling a story about your life. You are following kind of a template I'm going to give you for the story. And while you're telling that story, it raises your energy. You feel better. And but the reason that I can't just explain this in a book is that while I'm doing this, you need to have a coaching session with this, because while you're having that experience, you need somebody outside to say, hey, right now, this is happy. Pay attention. You are actually now feeling happy, because we get lost in the story and need that conscious feedback of, oh, wait a minute. I guess I do feel kind of happy now. Which way was that yellow brick road? But
it's true.
But so when so while you think you need to walk the yellow brick road, and you're playing the human game, and you're getting these little references for, I can use this thing in this very specific way, and in these very specific situations, it does give me an experience that I know feels happy. And you start to gather those references. And eventually your ego takes notice and says, I'm still going to pursue this thing over here, which I really truly believe this time is actually going to make me happy when I get it. But what's this happiness that I've been experiencing in these random things that we've been doing? Tell me more about that.
Right.
And at that point,
that one does not want to stay in your ear.
No, well, I never wear these earbuds. At that point,
I'm seeing why.
Yeah. Well, at that point, then you can start to, as I say, that then you can look behind the curtain. Then you can start to think, okay, well, what's this human game thing really about? How is this inner happiness really working? And then you can start to address it more directly with the spiritual truths and the spiritual principles that are a part of it, but until they're real for you, until you have some of a track record of going, I don't know why this does what it does, but I can pull out this particular story.
Yeah.
And every single time I tell this story, it makes me laugh. Every single time I tell this story, it raises my energy. It makes me laugh, which of course is a sign of feeling happy.
Right.
And eventually we catch on and go, maybe these shoes are so uncomfortable because I'm not supposed to walk in them.
Right.
Maybe I can just click my heels. But in the meantime, you can use this and make your life a little bit easier.
So I was freely willing to give. So first off, I've got to point out, this was funny. Great comment. They always try to get me to laugh and catch me off guard. And that's something, because I can't imagine, like, your headphones falling out. I know how annoying that could be. And you even asked me before the show, hey, is this okay? And I'm like, yeah, it works for me. And now I feel bad I said yes. But
it's okay.
You're happy that you're in California, right? Like,
I'm in Houston.
I'm sorry. When you said heading down the 5, I just kept going.
I've lived in Houston for the last 4 years.
Nice. Gotcha. I love Houston. Been there. I was there for the World Series a couple of years ago. What if life has been almost like a total crap show? So I would have used another word there. And like, my thing is, a lot of people are in that mentality. They have that mindset like, well, shit, my life's going to go to hell because that's just what it is. That's my luck. How do you find that happiness in yourself so you're not saying, well, there's another thing that this goes in the bucket of Brandon?
Well, there's the looking behind the curtain answer, which is true, but not remotely useful or practical right now. And that answer is basically that reality is a story you tell yourself. This is, I mean, it's things, and this is the way the hell out there weird spiritual truth stuff that is totally impractical, but it is absolutely true. Things are real because we tell ourselves they are. Some things are only real if you notice them, and reality is completely subjective. So if you're experiencing something, it's real. When you dream, it's completely real. When you wake up, it's completely real. You can't compare two experiences and say one is more real than the other.
Right.
There is objective truth. So just because something is real doesn't mean it's true. But we think our reality, we think the little subjective story that we tell and experience, that's the whole reality.
Right.
But there have to be two types of reality, because there are things that I know intellectually that exist in the world. I know that war exists in the world, but it doesn't exist in my world. I don't have a personal experience of it, so it's not a part of my little r reality, but I think it exists in a bigger reality. So all of this is kind of in a completely unhelpful way to the person that asked that question, to say that your life is a crap show because that's how you're telling the story to yourself. And there is absolutely no judgment on that, because there's another dimension of this that is also very true and not necessarily practical.
Okay.
That we are eternal multidimensional beings and we are currently having a human experience.
I like that better.
So what this means is that you are experiencing, and I know, so the human experience really is a game. It is a virtual reality amusement park. If you are an eternal multidimensional being, you are not going to be entertained with a game of Scrabble. So you create this totally immersive story.
Mm-hmm.
And then we forget that we're playing a game. We forget that we're telling a story. We forget that that we're the character.
Mm-hmm.
So your higher self, your soul, your expanded self is watching this story.
Mm.
And it is just amazing. You're sitting and watching and eating the popcorn. Meanwhile, you are experiencing it from the human perspective, and it's a crap show. So the difference here in terms of perspective is, are you sitting in a movie theater watching a screening of Halloween, or are you Jamie Lee Curtis? Because there's a totally different thing, and you are both at the same time. None of this is practical right now.
Mm-hmm.
But this is why I get so excited about the human game, because it leverages all of this without you needing to understand it.
Right.
Because it is literally so one of the ways that it can work, one of the ways I'm exploring applying this is there some task that you have to do that you just have a tremendous amount of resistance to doing? I'm putting together a new video, like specifically for kind of people in sales. I had a background in sales, and prospecting was, cold calling. The phone weighed 150 pounds, and you have to do it. If you don't do it, you don't get a paycheck. And as I sort of mentioned in the video, it's not that I'm not motivated to pick up the phone and do the cold calling. I know I have to do it. I care, but why is it so hard? Well, it's so hard because I don't have enough fuel.
Yeah.
So what if I could teach you a simple little technique specific to you that you could use when you feel like you have resistance to doing something you know you need to do?
Yeah.
And you spend a couple of minutes playing the human game, and all of a sudden, because it puts fuel in your fuel tank, you have less resistance. The phone may not float up into your hand, but instead of weighing 150 pounds, it only weighs 20 pounds.
Interesting.
Something that small and simple and specific that you could experience, that is just going to make one part of your life just a little bit easier. And if you can start with that,
Mm-hmm.
and then learn, okay, well, we take that same principle, but a slightly different targets to apply it to other goals or other parts of your life, because it's the type of fuel you need, the way you approach a goal, very customized based on your birth chart.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just randomly decide what it is. It's there. We have the map. And so you start doing this, and it's not instant happiness, but it's made your life a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And you keep practicing it, and your life gets a little bit easier, still totally compartmentalized,
Mm-hmm.
totally specific to this one little thing. But as you build those references, it becomes possible to then consider, okay, well, all you're doing here
Mm-hmm.
is you're telling a story. I'm teaching you how to tell a specific targeted story. And by the way, and these stories are based on, quote unquote, actual events. They're based on memories that you have.
Right.
But those memories only exist in your head as stories because you're not doing them right now. So, again, little mind-blowing thing. When you're telling the story of a memory, you are experiencing those feelings right now, even though that happened whenever the heck that happened.
Yeah.
Because you're creating the reality by telling the story, because
Again.
that's how it always works.
Makes sense. Yeah.
But you have to get some actual experience of it in these tiny little focused ways. And then maybe you can go, okay, well, gee, if this applies for these small things, how am I telling the story of my whole life? And what if I want to change that story? And again, you as the main character in your story may not be enjoying the story, but I bet your higher self is just on the edge of their seat. What's going to happen next? Because we like watching.
Correct.
Like, we like watching people struggle in films because we know it's a story.
Right. So, all right, I'm gonna take a step aside on this one because like there's a lot here. Like I want to make sure that I can I'm processing it, and I'm the one that studied this before, so I can be ready for you. And now I'm feeling like, good Lord, whoo!
Yeah.
But, so my astrological chart, with the birthday, when I was born, and all that. How does that play into this to connect the two to happiness? Okay. Sorry, and you could
no.
Have to dive into that.
Great question.
Okay, good. I was worried.
The human game is a story.
Okay.
And it's it's a game, and you're almost like making an augmented reality game. So you're sort of overlaying it on your actual life.
Okay.
So the human game as a game is one of those Sims resource development games. In this game, your life is a city. And the city is divided into 12 different neighborhoods. And each of those neighborhoods is zoned for a different kind of activity. So, the second house neighborhood is your financial district. So that's your money and your prosperity. It's also skills. When you want to develop skills and talents, that happens in the second house neighborhood. The fifth house neighborhood is your creativity and entertainment and fun. So everything is kind of zoned into its neighborhood.
Okay.
And when you upgrade these neighborhoods, when you upgrade them, when you build more buildings, when you maintain the structures in those neighborhoods, you get to experience more in that part of your life. So your birth chart is the blueprint of the city of your life. Everybody's got the same basic layout.
Right.
When you engage with the human game, the 7 personal planets function as kind of heavy equipment construction vehicles.
Okay.
They do all the work. And what they do, they have to, so as to get a vehicle to run, it needs fuel.
Correct. So
the first thing you have to do is take the raw materials in some neighborhood and turn them into the kind of fuel that you need.
Yep.
And there are 4. So I'm going to digress a little here to get specific about the fuel. Well,
right. My CBD.
Yes.
Hey, I got to some way. That was perfect.
So this is metaphorical fuel. There are 4 different types of fuel, which are based on the 4 elements. And depending on your birth chart, depending on, so for anybody that understands a little bit of astrology, it is the sign of the planet that rules the house that tells you everything. It tells you what fuel that planet needs. It tells you how you approach that particular goal. The best way to sort of think about fuel to get an idea of what is this abstract, because it's more than just like get up and go.
Yeah.
Is to think about what happens, how you feel if you are totally out of a particular type of fuel. So if you are out of fire fuel, you feel burned out. When you do, when and we all use this language. Oh my God, I am so burned out. I am just toast. I am a crispy critter. when you feel that, and that's a specific thing,
Right.
that may relate to you are just totally out of fire fuel. If you're out of earth fuel, you feel just totally ungrounded. You can't deal with the physical world. You can't deal with the practical, structured things. The blocks do not stay together. You just, you may have the inspiration and the enthusiasm and the mental bandwidth, and you may care, but you just cannot get the physical world to function.
Right.
If you are out of air fuel, you're brain dead. You can't think straight. You cannot communicate. The words, just the word salad, the brain just doesn't
want to do it. Yeah.
It's just, that's a lack of air fuel.
I call that brain farts.
Yeah. The brain, but in an extreme way.
Right.
I mean, in an extreme way, when it's just like, no, I can't think straight. I can't, not a glitch. The glitch may be a warning that your fuel is running low. When you're totally out, I don't have the mental ability to process this.
Right.
And then if you're out of water fuel, you just don't care. You do not have the emotional resources to care about whatever the thing is. And I think most people recognize, oh yeah, I felt that.
Yeah.
And when I don't have the emotional energy, it does feel different than if I don't have the mental energy, or I don't have the physical. So there are personal connections that you can make to this. And those are very specific qualities of fuel that you might need for a particular goal. You're going to need one of those for each different type of goal.
Right. So what would, all right, I'm going to go right off the bat. Earth. All right. We're all on Earth right now. Whether I'm from Jupiter and you're from Mars, it doesn't matter. But Earth fuel, is that just fruits and veggies and cows?
It's not. Okay.
You get where I was going. That's why
I do. Yeah. And it is, and it isn't.
Okay.
Because the way that you are going to, the way you play the human game. And again, this is another one of those things where it's very simple. I'm going to explain it, and to really experience it, you kind of need to work with a coach, because it's a very subtle target to hit, and you need to make sure that you're kind of hitting it right until you know how to find it yourself.
Got it.
But you're just going to tell a specific story. We'll go back and forth with you, but what's an area of your life? What's a goal you're working on? What's something you care about? What's something you'd like to?
Do you want a big one, or do you want one that could be achieved? I want to be the CBD brand of the world. So Coca-Cola is for pop. I picture that for my company, and it's creating a community of individuals who want to be able to spread that positivity. So obviously that's a very big one. Let's just go with it then. I'm here.
We're not. This isn't about. Remember, that's what you think is going to make you happy. Great. There's your target. Banana for your monkey mind. Right now, I'm going to show you what you specifically need to do to generate fuel, because you know the things you need to do,
right,
to actually make that happen. And do you ever experience resistance to doing the things you know you need to do on a daily basis to making that happen?
Yeah, daily. I send an email out to get everything out, to putting a social media post up, to responding to somebody for something I just don't want to say no to because I'm hoping something will pass through. Stuff like that. Every day there's something new that can make that.
Well, and the resistance. So the new little awareness here is when hey, these are the things I need to do, and I know I need to do these things, and these are going to help me to accomplish that goal. They're going to build my brand. They're going to advance my reputation. They're going to build my business. These are the things that I have to do. Candy Crush. I'm going to play Candy Crush. I'm going to do something else. I can't. It's just when it's just the forcing yourself to do that. When you experience that, think, oh, I don't have enough fuel right now. Because there are also times, I'm guessing that there are times when you have these things to do and it's like, oh yeah, I need to do that. Great. And
it's done.
It's because you had enough fuel right there and then to do that thing. So this is the radical step that's missing from traditional coaching. Instead of getting you to, just force yourself to do it, well, you could, or maybe just generate some fuel and it'll be easier. So for you, the neighborhood that you are trying to develop that contains your business and your brand and your reputation, all of your public image, all of that, that's the 10th house neighborhood.
Okay.
When you do anything related to your 10th house, the planet vehicle that you are driving is Jupiter, because you have Pisces. For anybody that knows anything about astrology, you have Pisces on the cusp of your 10th house.
Correct.
So Jupiter is the vehicle that you are driving for this. Your Jupiter is in Sagittarius. So this means you need fire fuel, because Sagittarius is a fire sign.
Right.
It also means that the way you approach this goal, there are 3 possible ways that you could approach a goal, because all goals are not created equal.
Correct.
Some goals are a marathon. Some goals are a sprint.
Mm-hmm.
For you, these goals are a scavenger hunt, because Jupiter's an immutable sign. Well, but
it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
You can win the race,
right?
It doesn't, but you need to recognize you're treating all of these things as a scavenger hunt. So there's a specific set of strategies that are going to help support you, that are not going to be automatically with you got a motivational speaker or a trainer. They're not going to address the fact that, for this, it's a mutable goal. You've got other goals that are totally different. You have a bunch of other goals, a bunch of other parts in your chart that are fixed. They're marathons. Mm-hmm. You're gonna get there eventually. You are team tortoise for those things. It is slow and steady. But for your business professional goals, you're on team hummingbird. So it's a marathon. So you have a giant to-do list, and as long as you're checking items off that to-do list, you feel like you're making progress.
Right.
But you may just be running in circles. You're moving, but you may just be moving in circles.
Yeah.
And these are specific, but these are these are some of the specific strategies. So your fuel comes from your 5th house. Your fuel. So for you to generate fuel, you need to spend time exploring things that are creative and fun, because that's where Jupiter gets its fuel. It needs to have enough fuel there first. Then you can go spend time doing the things that you need to do that actually directly relate to developing your 10th house neighborhood.
Okay.
But if you don't have enough fuel, you're not going to do it. Now, I'm rolling a lot into this, but so there's a specific fuel strategy because you're team hummingbird. And the issue is you rarely really feel that you don't have a lot of fuel, but you're often going to sort of check, okay, how much fuel do I have? And then you're going to pick a task based on what you can accomplish with your available fuel.
Right.
Which means that you may spend a lot of time doing, let me put it this way, you probably have the sharpest pencils for a 50-mile radius. Your pencils are always just so sharp. Your desk is clear. All of the little things that need to get done, and they need to get done. Yeah. They get done because you can do them, because, I could take care of that right now. But some of that is because you may not have enough available fuel to do something that is a little bit harder, a little bit more meaningful. And if you don't realize, ooh, let me pick a task first.
Yeah.
This is something that's going to be important. And yes, I can accomplish this. Oh, I don't have enough fuel for that. Let me just go get some fuel so I can actually do something that's going to be meaningful, and the pencils will still be there to sharpen. I can sharpen them as a reward.
Right.
I can do a little procrastination
Okay.
as a reward
For getting it done.
This is resonating. I'm thinking the mutable stuff is resonating.
The pencils is one thing, but like the cleaning. I stay ahead of cleaning. I think 5 steps ahead on things, and people laugh at me on this because it's like, well, why don't you clean this room first? Because then you're going top to bottom and da-da-da-da-da. And people laugh because they're like, this is how he cleans an entire house in an hour when it takes other people 5 hours. Yeah. So you're connecting with me.
But it's that's a team hummingbird approach, and it's organizing the tasks and breaking it down and all that great stuff. Okay, so how do you create? I'm going to explain the process, and then I'm going to give you an experience.
Okay.
Of the process, your viewers can try this at home, but this is specific to you, okay. and also they'll see where the kind of coaching thing comes in.
Okay.
So, because all of this is happening, you need to make a connection to sort of your inner world. You're going to check your fuel level, and you're going to look inside, and you're going to check, you're going to take a reading of your current fuel level. And it's a very simple thing, but if you've not done any kind of inner work like this before, it's going to feel a little bit weird. And then your conscious mind is going to come in, and we're going to have to separate some things out. But you're going to check your current fuel level.
Okay.
And one of the things I have to consistently emphasize, there's no judgment on any of this. It's what's my available fuel right now. So whatever number comes up when we do this, that's the accurate number.
Okay.
Representative of right now. That number is good for maybe 5 minutes because it's fuel. You're adding fuel, you're burning fuel. It changes. You're just trying to check what's my current. You don't get upset if your car has a half a tank of gas. You don't go, oh, that's not acceptable. I need to pretend like it's 3/4 of a tank. No, it's what it is. If a half a tank of gas is enough, you're fine. If it's not, you go get more fuel. It's
right
fuel. But it's, you laugh now, but you're going to experience the judgment that comes in when we actually do this because we're kind of hardwired for that.
Okay.
This is the big reason why even students that want to learn this, I'm like, yes, great. And you still really need to experience this one-on-one coaching because you need to know how to walk this path for yourself. Mm-hmm. And reading the instructions is not going to be enough because they're not necessarily going to make sense.
Got it. Okay.
So we're going to take a reading. So we have a baseline, so we know how much fuel you're adding, and then you're going to tell a story.
Oh, okay.
And I call these a AAA plan. When you have a problem with your vehicle in the real world, you call AAA. Well, you've got a vehicle issue in the human game, you also call AAA. But AAA is attention, action, and awareness. So the story we're going to tell is something that's going to be based on actual events in your life. We're going to make that story about your creativity, about something that was fun and about something that was creative, because we specifically need to get fuel from that neighborhood.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter what actually happens in the story. Because we're basing it on events, but it's a story that you're making up. So we're going to say, this is a story about my creativity and having fun and playing games and taking risks and challenges and whatever. That's going to put it in the 5th house.
Okay.
And then we're going to describe the basic thing. What did you do in the story?
Okay.
briefly, because none of that's what it's about. Once we've got a story that is absolutely happening in that fifth house neighborhood, then you're going to look for the fire, because you're there to gather fire fuel. So you are actually going to look for details that relate to the element of fire, both literally and metaphorically.
Okay.
And you're going to talk about those, filling those details in, which is going to make them real, because when you're describing them, you're noticing them, and all of a sudden they are now present.
Right.
Which means that you are then actually gathering those fire fuel resources and adding them in your fuel tank. So you will experience some kind of shift in your energy.
Okay.
And then we're going to take another reading of your fuel tank so you can quantify, because it's not necessarily, oh my God, it felt so much fun telling that story. Sometimes, you need to be able to measure, well, okay, I felt something, but I don't know what it is. Well, yeah, because you started out with this in your fuel tank, and now you have this, and so you added X.
Right.
And these are the references. This is how you can externally track the internal progress, and it's how you start to build a reality where, okay, this doesn't necessarily make sense, but it's fun and it seems to work, and I can keep doing it for a while, because
okay,
I have to, there is a great deal of, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. You're going to engage with this story. You're going to play this in a very specific way. So you're kind of learning how to play the game at the most basic level.
Okay.
This is level 1. Level 1 is like tic-tac-toe.
Yes.
Level 2 gets a little more complicated, and it gets to checkers. Level 3 is chess. So there's way more to this, but it doesn't. This is why in an actual session, I don't, I stay focused. We're just going to look at one little thing. Yes, it can apply to lots of other things, but just learn how to do this with this one thing.
Got it.
Okay.
I'm on it.
I would like you to imagine that you have a fuel tank that is specifically related to your goal of becoming the Coca-Cola of CBD, and all that entails. Okay. And there's a fuel gauge on that fuel tank, and it shows a percentage of how much fuel is in the tank. Okay. What number's on that fuel gauge right now?
Like 5.
Okay.
Like it's almost empty. Like it's just a lot of work.
Okay. I'm going to ask you again, because you went in. The number that I need is the very first number that popped into your head before the long pause where all the judgment kicked in and said, well, I really don't feel motivated. It's
77.
7. Perfect. So you did notice what the number was. You said, that can't be it.
Because go ahead. I put a ton of judgment in my head of what it was. Yep, 77 was the number that I felt.
Perfect. That's what your current fuel level is. Not surprising. You're generating fuel with this. You're being creative right now. It's not, but as I mentioned, this is what the initial coaching sessions are so critical for, because you need some practice to be able to play this efficiently, effectively. The hardest skill is when you're taking these readings, just listening to that first number and ignoring everything that comes after it.
Okay.
Every single time. And that takes practice.
Right.
And it takes sometimes somebody watching from the outside to go, yep, there was the number, and now there's the story around it, and now there's what you think the acceptable number is. And let's go back to everything that happened, just what that first thing was, because it's a snapshot.
Got it.
Okay?
All
right. So now we're going to tell a story. And there's a structure to the story. So because we need to put this story in your fifth house of creativity, the first sentence of the story is, this is a story about my creativity and how I was expressing my creativity and having fun and taking risks and getting all sorts of wonderful rewards and benefits from it.
Okay.
Repeat that, some version of that back to me.
This is a story about my creativity, my openness, and my vulnerability to connect with others. Okay. I made it my own. Is that okay? I tried to remember and I blanked out, and that's why I kept talking.
That's okay. And again, this is the other really tricky skill with these stories, because it's not about what it seems to be about.
Okay.
This story is specifically about you exploring and expressing your creativity. So just say, this is a story about me expressing and exploring my creativity.
Okay.
Repeat that back to me.
Oh, this is a story about me and my creativity.
Okay, great. Now tell me, give me a quick example of something where you felt like you were really, at any point in your life, something that you felt where you really felt like, wow, I'm being creative and this is such a wonderful creative thing, and you could feel that.
Creating my company and coming up with the idea I had, like getting to actually picture it and come up with how I was going to make that happen.
Okay. Do you have a specific? So I need you to.
Oh, you want the date? I can give it to you.
No. But
today actually.
But I want a specific, not a broad thing, but I want kind of a specific. I want you to be able to focus in on a specific event, because I'm going to be asking you about what was going on around you in that. So it needs to be focused as kind of a very specific, placed memory, as it were.
Okay, so a placed memory, specific placed memory. I would have to say, let's use my graduation, walking across the stage for my master's degree.
Okay, and so this is a story about your creativity.
Yes,
we're going to make it about that.
Yep, I can help with that.
We are absolutely going to make it about that. It doesn't. This is the thing. We're telling a story. We're creating this now. So first sentence, this is a story about my creativity. And in this story, I graduated with my master's degree. Okay. Repeat that back to me, because you need to clarify this is what this is.
You got, this is a story about my creativity and my getting my master's degree.
Okay. So tell me about how much creativity you had to put into getting that degree.
A lot. Like I had to, creativity is in like, I was the first person in the United States to graduate with this actual master's degree in 1 year. Mm-hmm. And that was something that really took a lot for me, because I knew I would be proud of that. I've never thought I would get even a college degree. So to be able to have my creativity come out and get not one, but 2 master's degrees, I was able to see my creativity come out and be proud of myself. Creativity on that is the seeing the goal of 1 year and breaking through that.
Excellent. Okay. So let's gather some fire. Was this graduation outside?
No, it was indoors.
It was indoors. Okay. Were there lights? Were there like stage lights? So there was,
yes,
there was lots of fire with that, bright lights. It was
correct.
Outdoors. The sun is always there. That's the ultimate fire. I'm assuming there was no candles, but there was like stage lights. You were lit. There was the heat and the lights. Yeah.
Huge convocation center. Yes.
Huge. So lots of lights, the heat, the bright lights. That's an aspect of fire.
Got it.
How enthusiastic, tell me about how your enthusiasm, how passionate and excited and enthusiastic were you about
that? Beyond excited. I that was a day that when I got there, mm-hmm. it felt like, wow, I'm here. The excitement was one of the highest I ever was. I remember being backstage where they're getting ready to unload thousands of people, mm-hmm. and everybody that I was graduating from with that class that I met, we were just hugging and crying with excitement. So yeah, like very excited. So
intense joy, intense fun, lots of all of this is the element of fire.
Right.
Okay. So there's a lot more we can do with this story, but having just told that, take a look at your fuel tank. Tell me what number's on the fuel gauge.
92. It's just the excitement like that. That makes sense. Because
and by the way, right now you're happy.
I am. I mean, I went with, I couldn't think of it. I felt like the pressure, and my mind was like, oh God, I offered to do this in front of everybody and I'm alone. Like, but it makes sense. What you're doing makes sense because you find those positivity things, the fire that was there, and you're building with it, correct?
Yes. And you can make it up because the story, what you're experiencing right now, the story you're telling right now, which raised your energy, raised your vibration, gave you way more fuel, you are ready to do whatever you need to do. When we're done with this podcast, those tasks are going to be easy because you've got plenty of fuel in that fuel tank now. That story has nothing to do with what actually happened in the graduation.
Right.
Because you've taken that graduation, but all of this came from the fact that you right now were telling this story.
Correct.
That was all about the story and telling that story in this targeted way, noticing these things, generated this fuel, made you happy, shifted your energy.
Right.
That story has got the shelf life of a Twinkie. You can tell that for the rest of your life. You can remind yourself telling that story, and the more you tell the story, you're going to put more details into it because you know what feels good. So you're going to be able to go back and really feel those feelings again and remember, and it is just going to generate more and more happiness. And now that same story with a slightly different, so that's how you generate fuel, but sometimes you also need to create resources in your, so when you're building, when you're constructing in your 10th house, you need to make sure you've got enough resources in the local warehouse to be able to build the construction.
Right.
You generate resources in exactly the same way. You still need fire resources. You do it the same way by telling a story, except this time the story is going to be a 10th house story. So it's not going to be about your creativity. It's going to be about how you built your brand and built your reputation and did something that everybody in the world saw. Look at what I accomplished. And gosh, the graduation story can easily be made about that too. So you're telling the same story, the same level of enthusiasm, but you start the story with, this is a story about how I built my brand and launched my career, and everybody saw me and built my reputation, and I was very public about this, and it just supported me in my advancement personally and professionally and socially. And in this story, I graduated with my MFA. And there were all of these lights, and there was so much fire around because of the lights, and it was hot in those robes, so there was heat going on there, and just everybody was so excited, and I was so excited, and there was so much joy and so much intensity. And now that story is putting resources in your 10th house warehouse. But it's also still making you happy.
Right.
When you tell it in the moment, while you're telling that story, you are actually happy. So even though you think achieving this external goal is going to make you happy, it could. You don't need to wait because you're happy right now. We told this story. You're suddenly, this is, click the heels, ruby slippers right now. and you're still great. Where's the yellow brick road? Because that's, these concepts are so much bigger, and they don't really make sense to the rational mind, and they don't fit in with our current story, and our current story of our lives has got a certain amount of inertia.
Right.
And so we can't really necessarily change it all at once. We need to change it kind of gradually, but it does, and it can, because you're the author.
So I'm able. You're able to do this in so many different ways. I do have a quick question.
Yeah.
The 5th house.
Yes.
What planet is that? Because if the 10th house is Jupiter,
the 5th house is where Jupiter is.
Oh, I see. I get it then. Okay. I was misunderstanding.
You need to generate fuel in your fifth house because that's where Jupiter's home base.
Okay.
That's the neighborhood it goes home at night and parks in.
Okay. That makes sense.
So it's, again, specific to you.
Huh.
I also have the same vehicle for my 10th house, but my Jupiter's in my third house. So
Really?
when I need to generate fuel for my career stuff, I need to focus on my routines and my comfort zone and my familiar environment. So if I go walk around my neighborhood, I can make that an activity that is absolutely about generating fuel, because it's my neighborhood and it's familiar and comfortable and I know exactly where everything is and I've got my routine going here, and that just generates all of this fuel that I need for Jupiter.
Wow. Like you, I'm sad. Brit Brett says, I'm sad I missed the first half. Like, don't worry. You can go back and this will be on Spotify in about 30 minutes. So don't worry. Guys, this is also where you can find Kevin's YouTube channel to be able to connect with him more. Make sure to hit subscribe and ring the bell so that way you're able to get all the notifications. So that way you can learn about your houses and all this and keep connected. But the other thing is, boom, boom, boom. Stop bragging about all the houses you own. That was good, Panda.
We all have the same houses.
Oh.
We all have the same.
Oh, you ready? But Jupiter in retrograde sucks. Oh, man. Haha.
Okay, well, Jupiter is in retrograde 5 months every single year. It really doesn't.
Boom.
It really doesn't do much. And unless you put it in your story. Now, that, Mercury retrograde, one of the, I will say, one of the advantages of being an astrologer is that 3 times a year you do get to blame a lot of crap on Mercury retrograde, and I would not take that away from anybody. But it also really doesn't do what we say it does, but it's fine. It's a part of your story. You can blame things on Mercury retrograde. I will never stop anybody from blaming Mercury retrograde.
I love to blame Mercury retrograde, even when it's not. People don't know, and I'm like, hey guys, like
I do.
I wouldn't use it on you.
Okay.
But yeah, so guys, and then here, Kevin actually does an amazing thing. I'm sharing his website right now. It is, even though he gave us a ton of information, wrong button. Boop. Sorry about that. Let's try this one more time. Share screen and your homepage. You give away a free introductory class just by clicking here, and you get to play. Click here to schedule your coaching session with the human game, to play the human game. Guys, you can click the link that is provided right there. Oh, you don't see me. Right over by Kevin. It's right underneath him. And we would love to be able to have, Kevin wants to be able to spread his good news, spread his positivity, and get that back out there to people. And I prefer blaming the moon. That's funny. But like, I think that there is a lot out there, guys. And Kevin came at this with such a good energy. Like, at first I had a whole nother set of questions, and you could ask Kevin. I was like, so I'm going to ask you this. I'm going to ask you this. And then he's like, he and I start talking, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. None of that is something I wanted to ask. And I want to ask these now. So Kevin, wow, guys, go hit the sign up button. Go hit the information. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel, because there is a lot there. I'm going to share the link one more time so it makes it easy for everybody. But Kevin, the way we end every show is we speak positivity. And while we had a lot of fun today, and yes, I was willing to be a guinea pig, I thank you, because it opened up the mindset for a lot of people to see what else there could be. With my birthday, the 10th house, finding my... and I used my diplomas just because that's what I could see, I think. I don't know why I really chose that.
But here,
it works.
This is the most radical concept of this. And it's particularly radical for astrologers. is the idea that this is a totally different way of approaching your chart. You are not limited in any way by your chart. You don't, astrologers spend so much time arguing about what house something belongs in. Well, this activity is a sixth house because it's a job, but it's really my passion, it's my career. But but I do kind of work for something, so it's a sixth house. It's whatever house you want to put it in, because it's about generating the energy. It's about telling the story, because you own this. So you can take any activity and turn it into something. Oh, gee, what did I do today? I walked the dog. Okay, well, I need to generate some second house resources. I walked the dog, and this is a story about working on my skills, because I really made sure that I was training the dog properly and I was focusing on that. And so this was a second house thing, because I'm making this about walking the dog today, about skills. And then I need water, blah, blah, blah. And just because it's all the story that you tell. Right. And I'm just figuring out how to compartmentalize that in small, accessible, bite-sized nuggets that people don't get overwhelmed by, because there's a real practical application of this. Yeah. And yes, there's a whole world of potential with this. As a coaching model, I am creating classes to explore the astrology. I will be creating classes on the coaching and counseling components of this. I will be offering a program to train and certify people to become human game coaches. But this has only been around for a couple of months. I'm still working on all of it, but I see how it all can fit together. Yeah. But I'm realizing on a practical level, especially with some of my astrology students, that I have to give them a bigger picture. They're like, oh, what about this? Yes, but knowing how to read the map is not going to help you to walk your path. Right. You need to, the astrology part of it, that's how to walk, that's how to read the map. And that's great. And that's useful, but you want to find a personal connection to this. The coaching sessions are how you will learn how to walk the path and use this in small little ways, just, achieve a life goal, or just make it easier to do the things that you need to do. Send those emails, do whatever marketing you need to do to support you in your goal to be the Coca-Cola of CBD, or the CBD of Coca-Cola.
That I like. I love that. That's actually how I usually phrase it. So the fact that it came out the other way, I was like, oh, man. So, guys, this was a great episode. Please go give it a like, a comment, and a share. All the things we have to say. But, for real, I want you to share this one, because there's people out there that need to hear this. Coming from a religious background, having these types of conversations really opens doors up for people. They made it a sativa. Sorry. This morning we were talking about indica and sativas and marijuana, and I was teaching people new things. I love that. For 100%. Kevin, you are welcome back anytime. I even though I just had this session, I might still take advantage of using a different email address to sign up to do a free one, just so you and I could talk more. I loved what you were doing. And feed your monkey, as Jaybird says, with that, your monkey brain. Very well said.
Give the monkey mind a banana. Don't, it's just so much of spirituality is, quiet the ego, quiet the monkey mind. And it's like, give it a banana. Distract it.
Sometimes sometimes it's just your monkey mind is hungry.
There's often an easier way to do things. There's often a matter of, I would, with my astrology clients, I'd often say, okay, we need to give Saturn a cup of coffee and a crossword puzzle for the next few minutes, so that the judgments are sort of put off to the side a little bit, so we can address what's going on here. Right. And just, distract, but don't fight. I mean, if there's an easier way, yes, you could force yourself to do the things you need to do. Right. But in the scheme of things, that means you're sort of grabbing fuel from you're not necessarily getting the best quality fuel, and you're kind of driving with the check engine light on, and you may actually be grabbing bricks from existing buildings to use as fuel, so it may be causing broader damage in things. So it's just, don't just do it.
Yeah.
Generate some fuel and it will be easier. And then there are more things you can learn playing this, but just from the basic thing, it's just can make your life just a little bit easier. I can deliver that in a single coaching session. We can find something that's going to make your life just a little bit easier.
Boom. Mic drop. I mean, pen drop.
And use this the next time you find yourself feeling, I need to send that. Tell the story. Practice this. Let me know how your experience is with this. But it can be so useful.
Mm-hmm.
But also, it's like telling Dorothy at the beginning, well, you've got the tools and you have the tools, but you're not used to using these tools, so you may not use it as often as you could.
Stop using a hammer to change your oil. That just came out. I had to help. It's my own thing. But Kevin, you did amazing today. You spoke positivity. You brought a lot of big things. Do you have any final words for everybody?
I just thank you all. The direct link to all the human game stuff is at playthehumangame.com. I am preparing some new videos over the next couple of weeks, so they'll ultimately be on YouTube. They'll definitely be on the website. There's contact forms there if you have questions. And there is I am offering a pretty substantial discount through the end of 2021 because I'm still exploring what this model looks like and how best to help people with it in a coaching session. And it's just, I'm upgrading the tools and the worksheets and the things with it. But it's just, it has, I can't quantify how much more fun my life has been since I started playing this myself. And the joy that I have of sharing it with other people and seeing the light bulb come on and go,
you saw it with mine. You saw me click. And that's where I was like, he just saw me grab it and understand it. And guys, you can have that too. Dave, don't apologize for being late. You're not late. You came at the time you were meant to come. Donna, same thing. Love you both for even stopping in, saying hello, and giving Kevin some love. Guys, do me a favor. Click here and the links and go get a free session of an introductory class.
It's a free class. Yes. The coaching, there's discounts on the coaching sessions.
Yes.
The class and the class is primarily going to be of interest to people that know something about astrology. It's going to give you some background. It's going to give you some context. I'm creating more videos that kind of explain what the human game is. And I'm going to be putting together a video about the three teams, Team Tortoise, Team Hare, Team Hummingbird, to sort of have an understanding of, how do I figure out, because there's so much with that. These are the things that are interesting and engaging, and they kind of make sense if you're not coming at this as an astrologer.
Question: can I be the face of Team Squirrel?
There's not room for a squirrel here. We've got 3 modalities.
All right, fine. I can be a hummingbird.
Still, squirrel energy is definitely hummingbird like. It's very much about it's
the ADD. That's what I am. Yeah. I love it. You brought a wealth of knowledge, Kevin. I want to thank you very, very much for today. See, Donna, Team Unicorn. That's what we really want. I know, Donna. I know. Trust. I should have had the unicorn onesie ready to bring out for that. I wasn't. So, guys, thank you again. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying, and this is going back to the whole personality typing thing. You are unique.
I'm a
as
unicorn.
an individual.
Yeah.
I'm
adorable.
If you are completely unique, then it's not really easy to be able to figure out how to make sense of stuff. So you've got a lot of things in common with a lot of other people, but your playing field, your particular configuration. I mean, I show in the video these humans, these circuit board diagrams that I've taken from the astrology chart. Instead of boxes, I show this is what it really looks like. So everybody's got the same processors, but you're wired up in a unique way. But understanding that there are some basic things, and this is going to apply here. Here's something you can apply to yourself that is specific to you, but it would also apply to somebody else in a different context. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. It's not denying that you are utterly unique, but it's also saying, yes, you're utterly unique, and you can still make use of some of these off-the-shelf tools to make your life a little bit easier. You don't need everything to be custom because you're the only one.
Fine, I'll stop being the only one.
Well, it makes life easier when you can just, use off-the-shelf stuff.
Right. I think that's a great way of saying it. So guys, connect with Kevin. Go sign up for the free class, not a free one-on-one like I made the mistake of saying. I only get that because of the fact I own the show. And
through the end of this year, big discounts on the
big discounts.
Big discounts on the coaching packages.
I love it. I love it. That earbud is just...
I never wear the actual earbuds when I'm at the gym or something. I have to have the
headphone thing over it.
Or a headphone or something with a hook on the ear because they just don't stay in my ears.
Really?
But I didn't want to run the risk of feedback.
You know what?
Because sometimes it happens with the mic, and I wanted to make sure I was giving you the best audio quality I could.
And you did amazing, Kevin. You brought 100%, and we couldn't have asked for anything better. So, guys, go get that.
Pleasure.
Pleasure's all mine. Hit the subscribe button, share with a friend, turn around. Remember, today is Wednesday. It is hump day. If you don't have someone to hump to get you through the week, don't worry. Buy some Delight CBD to get some hemp and calm yourself down. All right? Thanks, guys. Have a great one.